Good afternoon and welcome to the Market Closing, our collab show between Business Today and India Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is the 3 p.m. show where we get you all the market closing action. First up, let's take a look at what's hot in the corporate and the financial space. Markets trade strong following strong global cues. Sensex jumps 500 points and the Nifty also hits 26,000 mark on an intraday basis, led by gains in the public sector, unit banks, real estate stocks, metals and infrastructure stocks as well. Softer US inflation data has boosted the hopes of more Federal Reserve rate cuts, fueling the market optimism. Major relief for Vodafone Idea. The Supreme Court has allowed the centre to reconsider the AGR dues to grant relief to the telecom company. The court has said there is no reason why the government should be prevented from reviewing the matter. Vodafone Idea shares have also jumped nearly 9% on an intraday basis following the verdict. Reliance Industries stock has also gained over 2% in trade today. This is after the company has incorporated its new AI joint venture with Meta. Reliance Enterprise Intelligence, an 855 crore rupees partnership that focuses on enterprise-grade AI solutions and digital growth. Gold and silver prices fall as investors now book profits after a sharp global rally. MCX Gold now has slipped below the 1.23 lakh rupees per 10 grams, while silver has dropped by over 1% to now trade at 1.45 lakh rupees per kilogram. The decline also comes right ahead of the US Federal Reserve policy meeting and a strong dollar. India's economy continues to gain momentum despite global uncertainty, says the Finance Ministry. Demand is strengthened across rural and urban areas on the GST reforms and the festive push. In fact, inflation also remains under the control as RBI and also IMF has now raised the FY26 global growth outlook to 6.8% and 6.6%. Let's straight away look at how the markets are trading in the last 25 minutes of trade. Remember, we've also hit the 26,000 mark yet again in the intraday session today. Seen some profit booking at those levels, but still hovering around 25,960 as far as the markets are concerned. A narrow band of a move is what we have seen through the morning trading session and up until the afternoon as well, holding up to the 0.6% mark for the Nifty as well as for the Nifty Bank that hovers around 58,060 odd levels, up by about 360 odd points. What else is buzzing in trade? Well, all the sectors barring pharma and media, they're all up and about in trade. PSU banks are the leading sectoral moves that we are seeing at this point in time. Oil and gas, real estate are the other sectors that follow with strong moves in trade today. On the Nifty, which are the top movers on the Nifty? You have SBI Life Insurance right after the earnings. The stock has moved up by 3.5%. You have Grasim Industries from the cement basket. Bharti Airtel, Eternal and Reliance Industries are the big names that are buzzing as far as the Nifty movers are concerned. Remember, these heavyweight counters are also leading to a recovery in the markets. But what's down? You can see Kotak Mahindra Bank as the top laggard. This is after the earnings have come in, and Bharat Electronics, Infosys, ONGC and some Adani Group stocks like Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports are also lagging in trade right now. But let's welcome our guest on board. Sharmila Joshi, market expert, joins in to share with us a fresh view on the markets at this point. Sharmila, warm welcome. Good to have you with us. Remember, last time we were speaking to you in the midst of the festive season, in the run-up to Diwali. And now I want to understand, when we are back after holidays, when we are back after that festive spirit, what is your understanding of the markets and this fresh attempt to again climb above that 26,000 mark? Will this remain an attempt, or this time around, do you see we will see a sustained rally above that level?
Yeah, we seem to be back with a bang, and as I personally think that this time it is a little more sustainable than what we were seeing earlier. A couple of reasons. I think that the way we are seeing the signals from the US economy that maybe there could be another rate cut there, the fact that our trade deals seem to be progressing along good lines. We've had that statement about H-1B visas come in. Also, parties from both sides seem to indicate that we could be closer to a trade deal, and I think now we can definitely expect that they are closer to a trade deal because it is many months since they sort of started discussion, and I think that a lot of back and forth has happened. So that's another, like if that uncertainty gets settled, that will be another good sign. And overall, there seems to be some kind of sense that risk on trade is back. And I do think that this time, again, the result season has not thrown up any like negative surprise. In fact, I would say that we can make a case that numbers could look better going ahead. So all things put together, it does seem that we seem to be ready to sort of attempt to make a new high. And let's hope that happens sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. So, Sharmila, help us understand in this new Samvat year, what is going to be your cohort focus? Any theme sectors that you believe the outperformance can now come in from?
We've already started seeing the shoots, right? We've discussed financials that's sort of taken off. Uh, Autos have taken off given the GST sort of boost that they've got. Uh, One piece that hasn't really performed as yet is FMCG. Again, I think you can make a case out that the second half will be better because it will be backed by the GST sort of cuts that they've got, as well as the fact that we've seen a better monsoon, and that can mean and in the past has meant better volumes, especially in rural India, where volumes have dipped for some of the FMCG companies. So you would expect, you've seen Nestle already sort of starting to move to higher levels. But the other results were a bit of a mixed bag, whether you talk of HUL or Colgate and so on. But that's a pack that I would definitely keep an eye on, not just FMCG, but anything in the consumption space. So that would be my
Absolutely.
sort of a third sector to watch for.
Fantastic. Sharmila, remember in the run-up to Diwali, we were also talking about how gold and silver have consistently outperformed the equities, and that brought in focus to, see how in this quarterly earnings, we will see a lot of those jewelry companies to also perform. This time around, while there was some kind of a lag buying because people were waiting for some prices to cool off, but, in the later part of September, in the first half of October, a lot of people went back thinking that the prices are likely to remain elevated, and they actually went back to the nearby jewelry stores and they bought gold jewelry. In fact, what we are given to understand is some of the statistics have already started to pour in. Say, for instance, P and Gargil, that's actually talked about how their sales really soared in Diwali season in terms of the kind of jewelry sales they've recorded. They've recorded 606 odd crore rupees of sales during Diwali, highest ever Dhanteras sales at 277 crore rupees for them as well. They've also seen that their gold revenue has actually jumped by 74%. Their volumes are up by about 10% as well. Diamond sales for them have risen by about 54%. Silver is up by 90%. So they've actually seen a festive demand across the segment too. So I want to understand from you, how are you looking at now that the gold prices are ebbing lower from those record high levels? Last one entire week went by to understand, where will exactly this fall stop, or is this just a buying opportunity at large? How will you look at these jewelry companies, gems and jewelry focused sector, and of course, gold financiers?
I think that let's talk of the prices first. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, it did seem that there was a bit of a bubble, especially where silver is concerned. At least, the kind of reports that one was getting from the market seemed to suggest that there was a bubble there because there was a great demand for silver coins, and some artificial shortage seems to have been created. And I think definitely once the season is over and sort of reality returns, you will see a correction. That said, I think the way things are at the moment, if you were to compare this with the situation, say, 10 years back, the geopolitics of the world as a whole seem to suggest that there should not be too big a correction in either silver or gold. So I think that they are going to be sort of on people's buying list because there will be sort of, every year, every 3, 4 months, there will be some situation somewhere that would make
Yes.
us think that the safety lies in being invested in gold. So I don't really
Absolutely.
think that the prices are going to correct too much. And again, I think, if you look at the data of the companies, everything that you read, what really surprised me very honestly was that apart from gold sales being up, you also saw significant sales in diamonds because, there was
Yeah.
this whole thing that lab grown diamonds could be, sort of get more fashionable and the value for real diamonds could go down, but we've not really seen that in the numbers of any of the Ian Guild, whether it was Titan, I mean, you name it, and you saw that even the gems business did equally well. So I don't really think that people are going to slow down and their appetite for buying jewelry is going to go down. And as far as prices go, at least, there was a time when I would have never really recommended anyone to have a silver ETF or a gold ETF, but now I definitely recommend everybody to have a silver ETF or a gold ETF.
Okay. Okay, got that. So definitely has to be a part of the core portfolio. But remember, the prices could definitely be volatile in the near term. But eventually, once they settle down and once the entire greed and fear index is pointing out to stability, one can again look at it as well. Let's actually talk about the big buzzers in trade today and also try to find out where exactly is the opportunity lying for investors. Let's talk about the heavyweight stocks, especially the largest listed stock is Reliance Industries, and that's in the buzz today. That also has to do with the fact that the markets have recovered sharply in the trade, 2.2% higher at the day's high move for Reliance Industries at 1484. Remember, it's all about the big AI buzzword that is being seen as the trigger point for Reliance Industries. Remember, Mukesh Ambani is orchestrating Reliance Industries' most audacious metamorphosis yet, and this is pivoting from petroleum to now processing power in a $15 billion bet that artificial intelligence will mint the conglomerate's next fortune. And as most of the experts are talking about how the market could value AI venture to upwards of even $30 billion as well. Let's try and understand what could this really mean for the shareholders of Reliance Industries and for those who may be looking at an opportunity from this stage onwards as well. Sharmila, how are you looking at Reliance Industries amidst all of these developments, the big AI push that the company is doing at this point in time? The Wall Street experts are also, terming this as the biggest and the most important metamorphosis seen yet for Reliance Industries, which is already a large conglomerate. And now we are going to be seeing newer ways that it is going to chart for itself. How are you looking at RIL?
So, when you were talking of this being a big pivot, I was just thinking that if you really look at the history of Reliance over the last maybe 8, 9 years, they seem to have increasingly gotten into businesses because let's understand, while their main business was still their biggest revenue earner, the growth over there is going to not really be exponential, sort of going ahead, going the size they are. Also, they have a lot of cash which they generate, which they can invest in businesses. So, the kind of businesses they've gotten into, whether it is financial services, whether it is telecom, whether it is retail. Then I think a couple of years back, we heard of them getting into alternate energy and, sustainable energy kind of businesses. And now this. So I think it's all very cleverly thought of because definitely these are all businesses that require capital and are very large businesses. And so far, they seem to have made those investments work. Let's see what happens with this because there's no denying the fact that this is going to be an area where we are increasingly going to see Indian businesses put money into and focus. I'm talking of AI as well as data centers, etc. And I think it stands to reason that a company like Reliance would want a pair of a pie that is going to be so huge. So as I said, I don't know how it's going to pan out for them, but I think the way they've been going about things the last couple of years, this seems to, in that sense, make very good sense for them. And obviously, I think as we discussed, I think the business is something that will, like if it works, is going to be a big sort of a high valuation business.
Absolutely. A re-rating on the cards for Reliance from the current levels, do you think?
I think maybe not immediately, but as we get more and more news, definitely I would think.
Okay, fair point. Since we've been talking about this entire consumption-oriented theme, one of the key factors that we need to also look at is how the e-commerce space is growing, by leaps and bounds as well. In fact, Amazon India's export base has also risen by 33% in the past year, reaching nearly 2 lakh entrepreneurs and small businesses. Exports to the US have continued to dominate, keeping India on track to achieve the $80 billion of exports by 2030. In fact, speaking to Business Today's Karishma Sudani, we have had Srinidhi Kalvapuri, the head of Amazon Global Selling India, who's spoken about the growing export base, the tariff impact, and how Indian sellers are truly expanding globally. Let's listen into that.
Srinidhi, you did mention of the fact that how you've been well within the target reach before time, in fact, before the year has ended. Do you think this number could have got better if the whole geopolitical tariff situation wouldn't have survived?
See, I think I'm no geopolitical expert, and tariffs are a realm of trade diplomacy. But as Amazon Global Selling, here is how we look at things, right? We look at our controllable inputs. Tariffs anyway, at any rate, is an uncontrollable. So, and there are 3 or 4 questions that we ask ourselves. One is that, is this structural or is this cyclical, right? India has very deep, export and manufacturing strengths. For instance, in the area of home textiles, in the area of health and personal care, in the area of beauty, right? And these are places where we're actually seeing a 10-year CAGR of upwards of 35%, right? Across all of these categories. Two, we've also been doing a lot of work on capability building over a period of time. And capabilities, as compound over a period of time, right? And to translate that into Amazonian language, what is also happening is that our flywheel is spinning faster and faster. So if I were to look at all of these 3 things, it still gives me a lot of confidence for our 2030 milestone.
Srinidhi, could you just give me some idea or insight into the point-to-point that's doing well? For example, in India, which city have you seen to kind of climb up the chart of maximum exports when it comes to e-commerce via the global selling program? And also, which country are you seeing gaining maximum out of our exports?
From a internal, India point of view, I think this is spread across states, right? From the Delhi NCR region, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan, down south, Tamil Nadu, right? So this is as I said, it's a secular phenomenon across because, our export and manufacturing strengths for India have actually been, spread across the regional. And, we see secular participation across all of these regions. Coming to the countries, where we are doing well, I think the US, of course, continues to be our biggest marketplace.
Despite the tariffs.
And followed by the EU.
Well, that's good news coming in fact, for Indian exporters via e-commerce, as Amazon India has said that the sellers have already topped $20 billion of exports right ahead of the 2025 target. And this comes in despite the entire tariff tantrum that we have been facing. Although US tariffs, these exporters have said, have posed a near-term challenge, the long-term outlook remains firm. And they've also set an $80 billion export goal for 2030 as reforms boost continue for e-commerce space as well. Sharmila, coming to you, the Indian e-commerce space is also growing substantially, and it's entering urban households and now even tier 2, tier 3 cities in a very swift manner as well. How are you looking at opportunities that present themselves for the Indian audiences, investors in this space, and how do you see the growth for this space? If somebody has a long-term vision for their investment portfolio, what would you advise on such companies?
Oh, well, definitely they seem very attractive because I think all of us are sort of sensing that the way we shop has changed. And so whether it is buying from an Amazon or getting delivery from a Blinkit or a Swiggy, we know that, we are now shopping very differently from what we were earlier. And it stands to reason that whether it is a Zomato or whether it is a Blinkit or whether it is a big basket, they are going to find their way into a lot of the tier 2, tier 3 cities. And all of them will, I think, see growth because the size of the market is very large. So, I just said, I think the valuations at this point in time may seem expensive, but given the opportunity there, and if you're a long-term investor, I think whether it is a Zomato or a Swiggy, it makes a lot of sense at this point in time.
Okay. When we're talking about the kind of new age companies that there are, these newer opportunities that are existing, remember, there are newer companies that are lining up to launch on D Street as well. New age eyewear brand Lenskart Solutions is also gearing up for its much-awaited 7,300 crore rupees IPO debut on Dalal Street. The subscription window will be open from October 31st to November 4th, with the price band that's set between 382 to 402 rupees per share. And in a press conference, the CEO, Piyush Bansal, also shared insights on Lenskart's business model, how the company maintains healthy margins while keeping the cost low, the strategy for future expansion. Let's in fact also listen in to what he had to say.
जितने का हम लेंस बना लेते हैं उतना तो लेंस का डिलीवरी का खर्चा है दुकान पे, राइट, टुडे. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस वी आर एबल टू प्रोवाइड दिस एट अ लो कॉस्ट वाइल मेंटेनिंग मार्जिन, राइट. एंड हमने पिछले 10 साल में कभी भी ऐसा मार्जिन बढ़ाने का कोशिश नहीं किया. आर गोल इज कि वी गिव Japanese quality to people in India, right? And we are supplying the same lenses now to Japan. 200 स्टोर है लेंसकार्ट के जापान में, 200 से ऊपर. But still we are able to do it at a lower cost because of automation and technology. The next is scale. Today पिछले 3 साल में हमने करीबन 1000 स्टोर खोले हैं लेंसकार्ट के इंडिया में, एंड करीबन 400 शहरों में खोले हैं, एंड अभी ऑलमोस्ट 500-550 शहरों में लेंसकार्ट प्रेजेंट हो गया है. बट व्हाट वी आर रियली डूइंग इज, अभी हमने चश्मे को मोबाइल फ़ोन बना दिया है, राइट. अभी चाहे आपको घर पे चश्मा खरीदना है तो वी कैन कम एंड डू आई टेस्ट एट होम एंड यू कैन प्लेस एन ऑर्डर. आप ऑनलाइन ऑर्डर प्लेस कर सकते हैं.
Sharmila, any opportunity that you scout for investors in Lenskart IPO? What's your fresh thought? There's been a lot of debate about the valuations there at large. Do you again feel that the investors should be very careful when one looks at this kind of a new age opportunity? Even though everybody of us is now used to going to the nearby Lenskart store to get our 6 months vision checks done, or probably just go forward and take that membership to get an extra pair of lenses or frames. How are you looking at this opportunity for consumer investors at large?
Again, I think very attractive, the way they grow their business. But as you said, I think valuation remains key. So you definitely need to keep an eye on what price the IPO comes at and the opportunity there and so on. But there's again, no taking away from the fact that again, the way, as you said, the way we shop for whether it is a pair of frame or lenses or whatever, I think it has significantly changed over the last 4 or 5 years. And if you were to see more cities and them being able to service more outlets, and I think another very good plus point of these companies becoming sort of listed is that then the service standards have to be, because you're in the public eye then and you're answerable to minority shareholders. So I think automatically it's a win-win, in that sense, because you do have to definitely keep that model of your business really good. Otherwise, you will face flack, not just from your customers, but from your investors as well. So I'm actually very positive about it.
Okay, very positive about this. Let's look at the PSU Banks Index. It suddenly shot up even further and it's now trading at the day's high point as well. So smart moves being seen on that front, 2.7% higher. There's been a spike just as we have been speaking about the markets. Sharmila, any thought on PSU banks that have been lying low for some time now? How's the valuation vis-a-vis the private banks and the opportunity that exists? We do know periodically we've been seeing some moves on PSU banks in hopes and anticipation of the government, developments to take place, mergers to take place there. Any suggestion on how should one participate in this fresh move?
Definitely, I think, given everything, whether it is private banks, PSU banks, I'm positive on all. But yes, I think definitely when you come to PSU banks, there are a lot of banks where valuations are attractive and a lot of banks where other things could happen, that you could see some investor come in and so on and so forth. So overall, if you were to ask me at this point to choose between the two, then barring some of the, like the top names in the private bank, I think definitely your first option should be the top name in the PSU banks, and then shift to some of the smaller banks on both sides. But definitely PSU bank, the larger banks will see gains from current levels.
Okay, got that. Any choices there? Any pecking order in which you can pencil in for us for the opportunities that you are scouting?
So, I will not talk of SBI, but if you were to look at the larger PSU banks, then definitely stocks like a Bank of India, there is a PNB, Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank. I think, as I said, all the larger PSU banks will, like Indian Bank, I think these will definitely feature on my list.
Okay, let's quickly look at the market closing. Viewers, 1 minute to go before we shut shop for the day, and then we'll come back to a conversation with Sharmila as well. So the Nifty manages to end with about 0.7% gains. You can see 25,979 coming in on the Nifty right now. The Nifty Bank about 0.8% higher, so doing better than the Nifty as well at this point, 58,192. This is largely also led by the spike that we are seeing in the PSU banks just towards the closing of the session. Across the board, there's some news flow that you could be expecting expecting right after the market closing as well that happens, because all the stocks have showed that spike, and PSU Bank's index has also moved up to the high point of the day. Now about 218 points higher, almost 3% of a move on the higher side. Oil and gas sector, you can also look at the other sectors like real estate that are doing well. Names like Grasim, SBI Life, Bharti Airtel, SBI, Reliance Industries, Eternal, these are the top gainers as far as the markets are concerned at this point. On the losing end, however, you also have names like Kotak Mahindra Bank, BEL, Infosys, Bajaj Finance, Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports. But definitely when you look at the kind of names that you're seeing already on your screens, clearly it's the Nifty Bank that's been holding up. You can also see even the mid caps that actually pulled up higher in the second half of trade. You can see 0.9% of moves that are coming in for the mid cap 100 index there on your screens, at the high point as far as the Nifty 100 mid cap 100 index is concerned. Let's look at the small caps as well to see how that one has also moved up. Yes, again to the day's high point, 0.8% of a move on the higher side as far as the index for the small caps is also concerned. Real estate index also pulled up in trade across the board, barring when we see just about media stocks and pharma names. Rest all of the sectors, they actually moved up in trade. Truly a substantial move that we have seen. In fact, from the broadest index, you do have some names that have actually moved up very, very strongly in trade. Hatson Agro about 19% higher. PSP Projects is up in trade. Wellspun Investments is higher in trade. You also have names like First Source Solutions. That's also pulled up about 8% higher. So these are all the names that have actually moved up substantially as well. With that, let's go back to Sharmila to try and understand some more questions actually that are coming in from our viewers. It's time for our viewers' choice questions too. We have the first question that's come in from Pawan Sharma from Kolkata. Okay, so that's the question is on the IPO space. Lenskart or Studs? Remember, that's the helmet maker that's also fixed its prices, and therefore that's the other IPO that is coming up. Which upcoming IPO is better to invest in for listing gains there is? That's the question coming in. Difficult one there, Sharmila. How would you address Pawan Sharma's question?
So, I think it's an excellent strategy to invest in a company for listing gains, because IPOs historically have shown that they make very good money on listing gains. But honestly, I'm not looking at it like that. So my choice would be Lenskart.
Okay, got that. So Lenskart is the choice that Sharmila is going with. Let's actually go across to Rajiv Das's question now. This is from Mumbai that we are getting. The question is that, are there any AI-focused stocks to invest in for the long term? That's also an interesting one. Sharmila, you yourself were talking about these sunrise sectors, these themes that are going to be the next gen themes. You talked about data centers as well. Any AI-linked stocks that one can currently also invest in, or do I have to only look at from the existing tech pool basket?
You will have to look at the existing sort of pool for AI, because I don't think that we have any sort of pure play AI companies, which is why I always thought that, when this whole IT news was playing out, is that that you have to look at Indian companies going ahead with their share in how much they have invested in AI and what kind of strategy they have for AI going ahead. So you do hear of companies like whether it is Coforge, or whether it is Persistent, or whether it is Zensar, that they have some sort of money. But the larger companies, we are still to get a sort of a better understanding of what their AI strategy is going to be going ahead. So definitely we don't have an NVIDIA that we can say, yes, just go and buy that. But there are companies which are doing stuff in AI, and you need to sort of take a look at those verticals and bet on those.
Okay, fair point. Well, Sharmila, thank you so much then for being with us, and of course for sharing all those wonderful insights that you always do with all our viewers. Viewers, it's a wrap on the Business Today show. But in case you have any questions about investments, your mutual fund queries, SIPs, stocks or gold related queries, then please do send them to us on the number that's flashing on your screens. We'll be happy to take them. And don't forget to catch the market opening action with Haba Bakaya at 9 a.m. tomorrow.